Hey, good morning, everyone from around the country this morning. 10 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock Eastern. Let's get ready to go. Everybody is logging in. I see people flooding into the room. Going to continue with the diagnosis today, the most important step in our sales process. Pretty pumped up to get moving. Really equipped you with a couple more tools today to get a little bit better conversion rates, a little higher margins every single week. So we are going to go ahead and get kicked off. We got a lot to cover today, so we are going to jump right into the slides without much delay here. So quick housekeeping. Please make sure you watch the videos prior to our sessions together. These are much more powerful when you have that content digested beforehand. Feel free to skip ahead. That's okay. Watch as many as you want. You just want to be sure you do cover those videos for the lessons we cover each week. Guys, the recipe for success here is going to be repetition and practice, accountability, and my favorite, doing one thing every day that scares you. So the repetition and practice, that's how we get better at this. This is how we take this from being new knowledge to just being something we do without even thinking about it. Repetition and practice will allow us to find our own voice and really make this our own. The accountability piece, it all comes down to behaviors. It really doesn't matter how much you know and how good you're at it if your behaviors aren't in line. And when I say behaviors, I mean actions, right? Are you actually using the stuff? Are you making the calls? Are you using the tactics and techniques? The people who get the best results out of this stuff are the ones who are either held accountable by their leadership team or those who hold themselves accountable. Okay? Do one thing every day that scares you. The second we stop doing that is exactly when we stop growing. Personally, professionally, whether we're talking about us or our business, we got to keep pushing. So don't get too comfortable and just stop. As we go through, you're going to start to see some improvements, and your results are going to get a little better. And a lot of times after that first one or two upticks, people stop. They think they've gone far enough. You want to keep pushing every single day. Okay? Make sense, everybody? Raise your hands if that makes sense. Beautiful. And I want to dive into this just a bit more because I had a couple of conversations this week that really made me want to take a second to explain how this process works one more time. Guys, this is really the 4 stages of learning, what you see on the screen here. Okay, unconscious incompetence. Basically, you don't know what you don't know. Okay, conscious incompetence. You don't know, or you know that you don't know how to do something and it bothers you, right? Hey, I want to get better at this. I don't know how to, but I know I'm missing a piece. Conscious competence. You know that, you know really what you need to do. Okay, you know that you know how to do something, but it takes a lot of effort. Guys, this is the stage we're going to be in all through the training, okay? You're going to be asking yourself, why isn't this coming naturally? Why am I not completely comfortable? Why do I have to try new things? Why do I have to work so hard when this should just be an easy conversation? It's because that's the stage we're in. That is part of the learning process. You need to take that feeling, and that's got to be a good feeling. You got to say, good, I'm exactly where I should be. This means that I'm in that stage 3 of the learning process, not 1 or 2, right? Okay? I know what to do. I'm learning what to do, but it takes a lot of effort to do it. And eventually, you'll get to the point where it's unconscious competence. You know how to do something, and it's second nature to you. You rock at it. You just keep going without even having to think about it. So this is the 4 stages of learning. You're in stage 3, and that's okay. We're in the middle of training. We're just starting training. This is exactly where you should be, okay? But we'll need that repetition, that practice. We'll need to hold ourselves accountable to get from stage 3 to stage 4. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're trying to find your way, if it takes a whole lot of effort, guess what? That's exactly where you should be, okay? So does this make sense to everyone? Raise a hands if this makes sense to everybody. Fantastic, fantastic. A lot of people start to get that feeling and they think, I must be doing something wrong. I must not be doing it right. I must be missing something. But it's actually the exact opposite. When you have that feeling, when you're in stage 3, that says, hey, I'm on track. This is what progress feels like. It's always uncomfortable. Now, when you look back at it, after you get to unconscious competence and you look back, you'll figure, I thought that was really hard. Thought it took a whole lot of effort and energy and thinking. It really wasn't that hard. I mean, we've all had experiences with that, learning something. Every job I've ever had. My first job being a bag boy at a grocery store, right? Just putting the groceries in the bag. Then my second job, 15 years old, working at Burger King from 5 o'clock at night, Monday through Thursday night until about 3 in the morning. That was hard. Everything I've ever done, everything we ever learn is hard at first, and then it becomes easy. This is no difference, so I don't want you to forget that. All right. Now, real quick, anything to share? Anyone who stepped out of their comfort zone? Has anyone tried anything new? Have we had some successes? Have we seen some failures? Do you have any questions, comments, stories you want to share with the group? Okay, let me know. You can either go ahead and raise your hand and share it to the group, or just type it in the questions box. You can let me know, hey, that's just for you, John, or hey, I don't mind if you share this with the group. Either way. But let's get some feedback. Let's make this a cohesive group. Let's support each other. We're all going through the same thing. And it makes it easier when you know, hey, there's 30 or 40 other people who are exactly where I am. Now, while you type those questions up, those stories, whatever you have here, I'll share one from yesterday. So Jeff from St. Louis, I don't know if this is a success, a failure, or what, you tell me, but here's what happened yesterday. Jeff called me at about 4 or 4:30, okay? Jeff's in one of our other training classes, but he's on week 11 out of 12, okay? So we're on week, 3 or so, 3 or 4? He's on 11 or 12, so he's finishing it up. He's taken a lot of accountability, so we've had many Voxer conversations, many phone conversations. We walked through a lot of specific scenarios together. He's holding himself accountable. He's forcing himself. Let me tell you about Jeff. He's been in real estate 20 years. He's the owner of the company. He does very, very well, but he wanted to get to that next level. How uncomfortable do you think it is after 20 years of doing something to do something different? So we've been working hard together. And yesterday he calls me. He goes, John, I want to share a story with you. But honestly, this sales process has kind of created a problem I didn't expect. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, I like making money. I'm all for making money, right? That's why I'm in this business. I enjoy it. It's one of the things I like about it. But here's the deal. I got a deal today. Okay? I got a deal today, and it was about, I think, $150,000 house or so I bought. And I made what I thought was a reasonable offer, and I've already sold it. I threw it out to my buyer's list with what I thought was a reasonable request, reasonable price tag, and I feel like I made more than I should have. I made $80,000 on it, and I'm not used to making that much. His problem now he's struggling with, wow, the margins are really starting to climb. Usually he hits 20 or 25. Says the margins are starting to climb, and now he's struggling with guilt. Am I buying for too low and selling for too high, right? So we had to have a heart-to-heart yesterday, really a session on head trash. It ended up not being that he was buying for too low. He solved their problem. He exchanged value for value. And the same thing on the other side, right? The disposition, value for value. It was just that he didn't value his time, his service, at what he got paid. So he was struggling with that internally. Okay? So we're all going to go through that, right? If it's not one problem, it's the next. So it was kind of, it led to another challenge. Every time you master a step in this process, you're going to hit another challenge. His is a weird one that we don't expect to get to, but there's always going to be more challenges, right? Always going to be some discomfort. His was, am I making too much? I know that's a strange concept, but these things happen, okay? So let me read some of these comments here. Hey, I used the training on an appointment and I got my first signing on first appointment. I had signings in the past, but never a first appointment signature. Jason, freaking awesome. Jason, where are you out of? Let me know whose group you're in, what city you're in. That's absolutely awesome. Darren says, I'm having rent-to-own buyers go dark on me after sending them pics and financials on properties I'm selling. Feel like I'm losing buyers by putting my cards on the table too soon. Is there a better way to work with buyers? Number one, Jason's in Philly with Becca Shea. Hey, Justin Williams says, yeah, Jason, I mean, kick butt. Darren, rent-to-own buyers going dark after sending them pics and financials. Here's the deal. We're going to get deeper with this in sales process, but I'll tell you exactly what's happening right now. What's happening is you're making your offer before we've taken all the objections and concerns off the table. So after we get through with diagnosis, we're going to get into all the deal killers, okay? And when people go dark like that, number one, we've lost our leverage before we've taken all the deal killers off the table, all their concerns, objections, and or a second thing plays into that. They feel like if they speak to you, they're going to be pressured into a yes. So it's one of those or a combination of those. Bottom line is you're making your offer too soon. You're giving up your sales leverage, telling them everything they want to know before you figure out what will stop the deal. So after they have everything from you, they don't have any reason to talk to you. At that time, you don't have a chance to go over objections and concerns and help them squash them to figure out if you even need your help. So if you want to work with me one-on-one, we can do that, but that's what we're going over the next few weeks. We're in the beginning of the sales process, step one, diagnosis, but that's exactly why it's lined out the way it is. We want to make sure before you put all your cards on the table, we know exactly why they do the deal, what will get in the way, and then we'll have something called the commitment question where we really find out whether or not they're ready to make a decision, yes or no, and no is okay. So thank you so much for sharing that, Darren. We will hit that, and if we need to work one-on-one, hit me up. I'll help you through the first couple of steps until we get there in the training. Okay? Let's see what else we've got here. Had a seller call that I took where I went for the no in saying that it was a great home and I don't know if he should sell because he had no signs of motivation. He agreed and we hung up the phone. When we got off the phone, I was a little bummed that we lost the lead. But on the other side of the coin, I was happy that our team and myself don't have to waste their time on a retail seller so we can focus more on those who we can help where we can really add value. Thanks for sharing that, Jessica. So yeah, I mean, part of this is about motivation. We want to know their motivation, but doesn't a little part of us not want to know their motivation? Like, hey, I want to know your motivation. I want to know if you're worth my time. But then we kind of put our blinders on and bury our head in the sand if we figure out they don't have motivation. When you're in a market like Jessica where time is precious and just a round trip out to a property is going to be 2 to 3 hours, let alone the appointment, don't you want to know who's motivated and who's not? On the flip side, I do most of my deals come from conversations that start exactly like this, right? So on the follow-up, no pressure. I don't know, probably 2 or 3 times a week, I get an email or a phone call that was, hey, we talked in the past. This is what happened. Listen, things have changed, or I'm kind of ready to go. I'd like to get your offer. I'd like to move forward. And this is also, Jessica, a great place to start the call after you get that. A great question is, hey, great, I'm sorry we couldn't help you out, but if I can point you in the right direction, anything like that, I'm more than happy to do so. Now that it's over, if you ever did decide to sell sell for cash, sell quickly, sell to a company like mine, why in the world would you? And that is where you may uncover just a nugget of motivation. And from there, we can use what we're going over today, the diagnostic drill, to drill deeper and really find out if this is a bigger issue than was let on with the surface pain, with the surface problem. Okay? So oftentimes this is where it starts, and that's how I love every phone call or conversation to start, because guard is totally down at that point. Now we've given them permission to open up. So we simply step back into the sales process with something like, hey, no problem, don't buy houses from everyone who calls us. That's just not our business model. It doesn't always make sense to do business with everyone. So I appreciate you sharing with me. I'm glad we got you the information you needed and took care of it quickly. Hey, now that it's over, can I ask you a question? If you ever did decide to sell to someone like me, to not use a retail seller, not use a realtor, to not let it sit on the market, to just get out of the way, why would you? Is there any reason why you'd ever do it now that you kind of know how we work? Is there any reason why you'd ever use a service like ours? Or just no, never would, not appealing, don't see the benefit in it? Well, yeah, I mean, if I blank. Well, if you could blank. Well, if I don't in a certain amount of time do this. And we're right back in the sale. So just because we end the sale like that doesn't mean we've ended the sale, right? That's usually just the beginning. When you read Voss's book on Never Split the Difference, I think I brought him up once before, hostage negotiator for the FBI in international hostage and terrorism situations. His first rule of negotiation is always start by getting the terrorist, whoever he's negotiating with, to a no. Because once they get to a no, it is so much easier to operate from that point. So just because it's over, it might be over for right now, but it doesn't mean forever. And that actually could just be the beginning of the conversation. Does that make sense, everybody? Raise a hand if that makes sense. Thank you. It keeps me on track. I know I ask you that stuff a lot for the participation, but it really helps me gauge whether or not we're making sense, if I need to spend any more time on stuff, where these calls need to go. These calls are pretty dynamic, so as we move, we spend more time and less time on certain things depending on how the audience feels and what they're getting out of it. All right, so thank you, everybody. Thanks for sharing. Absolutely wonderful. So let's push on, okay? Quick review. The types of questions we use in the diagnosis step: problem, impact, picture perfect. Like I said, we're going to go from from kind of the third stage to the fourth stage in learning. And the questions we use today, the words you see in the problem, impact, picture perfect questions, the examples I give, those are training wheels, okay? That's just, don't use those exact words. You can in the beginning, but you want to get to a point where it sounds so completely conversational. Instead of having very specific, well thought out and specifically worded questions, it's basically you're going to be asking why a few times in different ways to get down from the problem to the impact. That's it. So really, why is that? Well, what's that like? How long have you been dealing with that? Well, what would you like to see happen? That could be problem, impact, picture perfect, okay? So I'm using a lot of words and things like that so you understand why we ask them, kind of the type of stuff we're trying to uncover. Don't get too wrapped up in it. Okay, some examples of problem questions. So here's some of those training wheel questions I was telling you about. To uncover problems, start vague. What made you decide to talk with me, meet with me, fill out the web form, whatever it was? What were you hoping I might be able to do for you? Was there anything specific you were wanting to talk about? Have to ask, why do anything different at all? Why sell it all? Why buy a new property? Why buy this investment? Whatever it is. Next, here are some examples of impact questions. Really? So, hey, is a property, here's what we're looking for, okay? You might not use these words, but this is the information you want to extract. Is that property costing them anything physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, spiritually? That's impact, right? We want to ask questions in order to find out if that property is impacting their relationships with others in any way, right? Is that motivator? Yeah, absolutely. We want to ask questions whenever they give us their problem to find out if that problem is keeping them from accomplishing any goals. When they tell us what that surface problem is, we want to find out if that problem is causing them to miss out on anything. When they tell us what the problem is, we want to ask 1, 2, 3 questions to find out if that problem is affecting other people in their lives. And finally, when we ask that vague question and they give us a little bit about their problem, what are they trying to accomplish? What made them pick up the phone? We want to find out if that problem is affecting how they spend their time at all. Those types of things, those are impact questions. So you don't have to use those words. We just want to find out if that problem is actually leading to some type of personal impact. Okay? So again, raise a hands if that makes sense, everybody. There's gonna be a learning curve where it takes a little bit of time to really get comfortable with this. So I had a conversation with I think it was Miranda yesterday or the day before, and it kind of feels awkward and weird. Yeah, it's absolutely gonna at first, okay? So don't worry, these are training wheels. At first, you're going to ask the questions exactly like this. But at the end of the day, what can I help you with? What made you decide to call? I got to get rid of this house. Can you tell me more about that? Yeah, it's falling apart. I don't have the money. It's a huge pain in the butt. Man, I get it. We get these calls all the time. You're not alone. Happens to everybody. You know, the things get old, they fall apart. Money's tight. Let me ask you this. When you say it's a pain in the butt, what do you mean? Well, I've got to do this, this, and this. What's that like? Well, I got to do this and this and this. How's that feel? I told you it's a huge pain in my butt. I can't stand it anymore. What would you like to see happen? Well, I'd love to have this thing just gone out of my way. Where are you going to go? Well, I'd like to go to. Guys, does that make sense how simple the problem impact picture perfect can get? I don't want you to get carried away in the words. That's what the conversation sounds like, okay? So I know when you first see this, it's overwhelming, but that's really where we're going. That's how we're going to get our prospects emotionally tied in. So Jessica, I know that was some of your questions yesterday. Does that help you at all? All right, fantastic. Let's keep going. Examples of impact questions we just passed this. My clicker didn't work. Here we go. Picture perfect questions. Some examples of those. All we want to do is have them paint that perfect picture. Just imagine it this way, guys, right? How would you feel? What decisions would you make? What actions would you take? How would you spend your time? Would anything be difficult? Here's how I want you to think about it. Here's how I want to simplify this for you today. We're about to get into role plays and practice this stuff right after this. So bear with me. We're getting down and dirty today, where the rubber meets the road. So when we get to picture perfect questions, here's what I want you to think about. Think about every time the lotto hits like 500 million to $1 billion and the country goes crazy and we all start buying lotto tickets. Raise a hand if you've been there, right? I never play the lotto, but when it gets super high, like everyone buys a ticket. That's what people are talking about. Like, I can't believe it's $1 billion. What do those conversations sound like? I'd do this, I would do this, I wouldn't have to worry about that. I would do this and that. You know those conversations? Do you know what I'm saying? Can you picture those conversations and hear when you hear others talk about them, or when you're involved in those conversations yourself? That's painting a picture perfect scenario. That's what we want to do. That's what we want, the way we want to get our prospects talking. I do this, man. Oh, it'd be awesome. I would do this. And that's how we create the gap in between where they are and where they want to be, and then we simply bridge that gap with our product or solution. The best in this business, that's what they do. They simply find out where they are and where they want to be. The product they give, the help they give, their service is always the same, but the reason the best of the best are why they are is because they can easily find out where the prospect is, where they want to be, and when they're articulating the solution they're providing, they're just very clearly showing the prospect the bridge to get from one side of that chasm to the other. And it makes perfect sense. That's what separates the guys who are killing it and the gals who are killing it from those who still struggle with just tossing out an offer and hoping that they accept. So why is this so important? Guys, if there's no gap, there's no pain, there's no sale. Okay? If we're not solving problems or helping someone get from one place to the other, they're not going to take action. And beyond that, if there's no pain, there's no emotion, the only way a prospect, the only variables they have to compare their different options with their price tags. If this is 100% price and only price, are we stacking the odds in our favor? Beyond that, are we really helping our prospects? Thank you. So, people buy emotionally, justify their decisions logically. As we go through these examples today and we role play, don't forget to use softening statements, okay? It helps so it doesn't feel like it's an interrogation. It builds active listening, rapport building, and it gives you time to think on your feet, okay? So if you don't have any softening statements, go back to our list. Here it is. Pick out a few. Hey, I appreciate you sharing that with me. Hey, great insight. Hey, you seem to have a good handle on the situation. I understand. before you jump in and go question after question after question, and believe me, this won't be a big of a deal as it sounds like right now. Hey, this is a lot of questions. They're going to feel like I'm just peppering them. Here's the reality of it. Use softening statements because it builds rapport. It's active listening. It shows your prospect, I'm listening. I get it. I understand. I want to solve this problem. And in the beginning, if you have back-to-back questions, it breaks them up. Okay, so it doesn't feel like an interrogation. Here's the truth of the matter. When you start getting good at this, you only get a couple questions deep before your prospect's answers start to get longer and longer. Okay, it's really not 10 questions you fire away at a machine gun style. It's going to be 1, 2, they take 30 seconds to answer, 3, they go on for a minute or 2, 4, it gets to a point where they're just letting it all out 5 or 10 minutes at a time. And then you pick up from there with a quick softening statement. I get it. That's tough. What are you going to do? I mean, in a perfect scenario, what would you like to see happen? That's what it's going to be like. So take a look at these softening statements. Pick some out. I think, maybe 3 of them, perhaps 4, depending on the situation. And they've never let me down. They're great for the rapport building, and it gives you time to think. So what we don't want to do, but what will happen in the beginning is as your prospect's talking, you're not going to be listening. It always happens. You're not going to be listening. You're going to be thinking of, what's my next killer question? What softening statements allow you to do is really listen, and then you've got a second afterwards to go, man, I get it. And then you can ask your question. You don't have to be Johnny on the spot, and the second they stop talking, throw in a question. Listen. Use a softening statement. It's okay if you pause for a second and really think about what you're going to say. Slow down the pace of the conversation like a normal person would, not a salesperson, and then ask your next question. All right. Putting it all together, guys, here's an example of a diagnostic drill, okay? Training wheels. Hey, what were you hoping I could do for you today? Hey, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Hey, how long's that been going on? You know, that's not that uncommon. Hear that a lot. So what all have you tried to do to get that fixed? Transitioning into impact. Okay. So, you know, is that really a big deal? A little deal? Is that impacting, you know, how you spend your day? What you do? Oh, really? Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry to hear that. But it doesn't sound like you're missing out on anything else because of it. Oh. Well, what about the rest of your family? I imagine it kind of sounds to me like you're taking the brunt of this and kind of they don't have to deal with any of this. Oh, they do. Wow. Jeez. Well, how's all that make you feel? Well, let me ask you this. If all this was behind you, if you had this taken care of, if the house was gone, you're wherever you want to go, number one, where would you go? I mean, what would be different? I mean, would you just be in a new place and now you don't have to worry about the bills as much, or would that actually impact anything else in your life? Let me ask you this. You wake up that morning, you're in a new place. How in the world does that feel? I mean, is it just, oh, great, I don't have it over my head anymore, or is it like a huge sigh of relief? What would that be like? And what I'm trying to understand is exactly where you're at and where you want to be. So if it makes sense, I can try to craft that solution for you. So tell me a little bit more about perfect scenario, perfect world, 2 months, 60 days from now. If everything goes the way you want it to, tell me what that looks like. So there's an example of a diagnostic drill. Okay, it's going to sound vastly different depending on who you talk to, what their speech is like. But again, all we're trying to do is figure out, hey, what's going on? What can I help you with? Okay, sounds like that's a problem. So tell me a little bit more about it. How's that impacting you? Well, what do you want to see done? That's the line of questioning. That's it. But when you get good at it, and it's so beautiful in your industry because as you walk a property, if you're going on site, it fits in so well. You hit the advance agreement, and then this is just the prospect feels this is kind of just a time-wasting conversation as you walk the property. So, hey, I'm going to take a look around, take some pictures, maybe ask you a few questions. Then I'll spit out an offer at the end of this thing for you. If you like it, awesome. We'll get moving on it. If not, no sweat. We don't buy every house we walk into. So, let me ask you this, Bob. What in the world made you decide this is a beautiful home? Why do you even think about getting rid of it? And then you're on as you walk through the house. Softening statements, you just keep prodding them a little more. What about that? Oh, tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? That's it. So it sounds extremely complex, but you'll see that it gets very, very simple. So one question here, do you gather all basic information about the property and the owner, and how do you fit it to the flow of the conversation? So if you're on the phone, let's make a clear delineation here. If you're on the phone, we've got some general information to collect, but we don't have to go all that deep on the phone. I don't want you guys to worry about taking, unless you do your entire sales process on the phone, usually if your goal is an appointment, all you need is enough motivation for them to set the appointment. Then face to face, you got time, you got that connection, it's a lot easier to do this. So if you're on the phone, don't worry about going through this whole sales process, this whole questioning strategy on the phone unless you really need to. Usually your prospects are going to have enough motivation. If they have a little bit of motivation, then you're going to have to, you might have to build a little more by asking them a couple of why and impact questions, maybe a picture perfect question just to build that motivation and urgency. Lots of times they're already going to have that. You only really need to pull that out when you need to. Another question was, well, the address, the name, occupancy status, liens, etc. Simple. So in the script we released, it goes through all that. Let me know if you need a copy. We might even have it in the handouts of this form, but we do the advance agreement. I'm going to ask some basic questions about the house. Takes 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then you let me know if we need to take a next step or not. I'll explain what the next step typically is. Sound fair? Fair. Then we get into the safe questions, like those questions you just listed. What's the address? Anyone living there? Any liens? Anything like that against the house? We start with those nice, safe, vague questions before we get into the why are you selling, because that gives us a few seconds, 60, 90, 120 seconds to build rapport with safe questions. And the more they're talking and the more you're responding with softening statements, the more rapport is built. So when you get to those little bit deeper questions, you have a better chance. Okay? Awesome. How do you work this on the phone if you need to? Same way, exact same way. So you might have an initial conversation at first that's short, that's the same conversation as if you set a next appointment, but instead of setting that on-site appointment, your advance agreement is, hey, if you like everything you hear, I'll hop off the phone, I'll do some digging into the values, things like that, and then we'll have to schedule a time where we can really talk through this. I'll probably need 20 or 30 minutes to ask you some more questions about the property, your situation, what the best way to structure a deal like this is. And at the end of that conversation, I'll have everything I know to give you an offer right there on the phone. Sound fair? Awesome. So the same thing. Another question, if you were to take the script and complete the entire sale on the phone, what would that look like? Would you go into the diagnostic drill? Absolutely. So same thing. You might do that all on the very first call. Hey, how much time do you have here? I don't know if you've got just a few minutes or 20 or 30. How much time do you have for me? How about we just take a few minutes? I'll tell you a little bit about what we do, how we do it. I'll answer any basic questions you have. And if it sounds like it's something you're interested in or we have a possible fit, we can either extend this conversation 20 more minutes and wrap this up over the phone, or just schedule another time. I'll do some research and we'll take that 20 minutes then and go through the rest of this. Sound good? So lots of variations there. A lot of this, guys, is done over the phone. So a lot of the companies I work with outside of real estate, and we're software, things like that, where we're talking in 6-figure to $500,000 software sales, This whole thing is done business to business over the phone. Different call centers we work with, same thing. I'm going to tell you, in this business, with the discounts you're asking for and how emotional of a sale this is, you're going to get more traction face-to-face, but that doesn't mean you need it. Our company right now is we're virtual in one market. We just kicked off locally in our market, and we're about to open up about 10 more virtual markets around the country. All those are going to be done over the phone with kind of a ninja sales team we're building right now. Is it easier face-to-face? Absolutely. Is it necessary? No. Okay? So those are going to get more into some of the business side of your questions. How do we want to do business? What markets are we in? All that kind of stuff. But applicable no matter what the communication is. Guys, we do a lot of sales purely over email. Same process. Same tactics, same techniques. Email, never a spoken word. Is it a little more difficult? Sure. Absolutely. But we use the same process. So communication, the way we communicate, there's some that are more effective than others. But don't worry, it's the same thing, right? We need to find out why would they possibly do business with us? What would get in the way? Let's address those things, right? Let's get some commitments, and then let's roll out a customized offer with exactly how we can help them with exactly what they want help with, and do that in such a way that they're comfortable with the risk and the decision process and all those other things that could get in the way. At the end of the day, it's that simple. That's what we're doing. It's going to seem very complex and long, but when you start doing this for a little while, you'll see it's just that simple. All right, let's keep pushing on. Another quick example. Hey, what were you hoping I could do for you today? I see. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Really, can you give me a specific example? That's not that uncommon. How long has that been a problem for you? How long have you been dealing with that? Yeah, I understand. Hey, does that take up much time to deal with? I don't imagine it does. Oh, shoot. Listen, sorry to hear that. Is there anything else you'd rather be doing? I mean, is this even a big deal? Or I'm trying to understand. And, we talk to a lot of people. For some people, this is a huge deal. For some people, hey, this is life. We all have our issues. Not a big deal. Big deal or little deal to you? So is this entirely on your plate? Or does anyone else have to deal with this stuff? Man, how does that make you feel? What's that like? Hey, well, how much of that would really change if you're able to sell it? Yeah, that makes sense. What else? Let me ask you this. You pull that off, how would that feel? Now that conversation is going to be spread out over about 20 to 30 minutes, but are you guys starting to get the flow, get the feel of this? Quick tip, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Guys, just a little bit of information here. We all have a hierarchy of needs. First is breathing, food, water, all that type of stuff. Then the safety, love, belonging, esteem, self-actualization. We're always trying to get to the next level, okay? If a person's just meeting their physiological needs right now, they most likely don't care about the top portion of that triangle. They don't care about self-actualization, right? So we just had the big presidential race. Why do so many billionaires run for political office? Well, they hit those physiological needs. They hit those safety needs. They hit the love and belonging. They build their business. They hit the esteem leads or level. But then they want something more. Why in the world do billionaires run for governor of New York and president of the United States? I'll tell you. It's that hierarchy of needs. Once all that other stuff is knocked out, you're going to the next level. So my question for you is, this is just something to be cognizant of. Where do your prospects typically fall in this hierarchy? Are they physiological going to safety, safety going to love and belonging, or where do your prospects typically find it? It's important you understand your prospects so you kind of know where to lead with your questions. Just something to ask yourself, okay? And then ask yourself, how does my service help them get to that next level? That's going a little deeper than we usually do. But as we get into the psychology of things and what people want and what they're striving for, this will give you a heads up. This will give you an advantage over your competition. This little cheat sheet, it's in the handout section for the diagnostic drill. You can download that if you want to. Let's go ahead. I'm going to skip past this stuff. We're going to go right into the role play. we got 20 minutes left and I want to use it. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. As soon as I slide past all these slides, we're going to do a general role play. Questioning structure. Remember, problem, impact, picture perfect. Don't forget your softening statements. Now, this is going to be uncomfortable, guys. We're not going to know exactly what to say. That's okay. We're going to do this as a group, and we're going to start out with it being very, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to make this easy. But I want you to participate. Can we make that agreement, make that deal? I'll make this easy. I won't put anyone on the spot, but I need participation from everyone. Can we make that deal? Can we all agree to that? 2 people? Oh, I need more than that. All right, awesome. I won't put you on the spot, okay? I'm not going to make anyone uncomfortable. This is all going to be done through that questions box, but in order for this to work, in order for me not to have to call on someone live, we're going to have some participation. So here's some role play scenarios. Let's just start. Let's get our heads out of our industry for a second. Sometimes we have our patterns, our questioning patterns and things like that we use, and it's very hard to think otherwise. So let's first start with an example of a diagnostic drill out of an industry, okay? Something else, so we can concentrate our minds on not the business, but the actual diagnostic drill and the questioning. So here's some out-of-industry common sales scenarios. Shopping for a new vehicle, maybe getting a new phone or a computer, maybe it's new furniture or appliances for the house, maybe it's an engagement ring, who knows, maybe it's something else. But give me some quick feedback. What kind of role play would you like to do? Those scenarios, you could toss out another scenario. Let me see what the general consensus is, and then we're going to do a role play. We're going to start practicing this. We're going to start making our minds think in this way. So car, real estate scenarios, new car. We are going to do real estate. I want to do one out of real estate first just to get the pattern down, just to get our brain moving in that right direction. Okay, vehicle, life insurance, car, mobile home, car, vehicle. So we got a lot. Most of them were car. It is a quintessential sales scenario. So let's start with the car, and then we'll go into real estate. Okay. So here's what I want you guys to do. I'm walking onto a lot. I want a car. You're a car salesperson. Each one of you are car salespeople. Let's say you do your advance agreement, wherever we are in the sales process, but you get to the point where it's time to ask your problem, impact, picture perfect questions. I want to start with problem. What are some problem questions you can start that conversation out with? So use that box, and I'm going to read them out as you guys type them up. So I need you to think. And if you don't get it right, if you don't know, that's okay. Just try something. This is where we start to apply. This is where we start thinking a little differently. So, hey, what brought you in today? What made you decide to come in today? What brings you in here today? What brought you in today? What brings you to our lot? What brings you here right now, today? Why not last week, next week? How can I help you today? What were you hoping I might be able to help you with? What were you hoping I could do for you today? So, what's got you looking at new cars today? Hey, what's happening with your car? Oh, I like that, Renee. Which one do you want? Probably a little premature for which one do you want. We want to first figure out something more vague, right? What brought him onto the lot to begin with? How can I help you pick the best car? Little too spot on. We need to be a little bit more vague. What we want to do is uncover our prospect's motivation. We don't want to make any assumptions whatsoever. So, and sometimes I'll push back a little, things like that. We're going to get into that in the next 2 lessons, advanced listening and questioning and overcoming resistance. So don't get caught up in that. So nice, vague questions, okay? Hey, what brought you in today? And sometimes they'll mislead and things like that, and we're going to get into that stuff, so don't get carried away with it, but that's good. The majority of you, it's nice, vague questions. Do not ever try to assume you know why they're there, and don't try to lead them, okay? What would you think if that car salesman said something like, oh, so your car's not working anymore? Oh, so it's time for a new car? You start pushing right away. You're setting up that salesman. You're setting off their alarms, right? Ooh, salesman alert. Here we go. I'm already being sold. First words out of their mouth, right? Awesome. Okay. So that's where we're going to start. So you guys ask me, hey, what brings you in today? Just looking, just kind of looking for cars. How are you going to respond to that? Awesome. Yeah, hey, can you expand on that a little bit? Any particular reason? Guys, those are awesome. Those are spot on. No assumptions. You're just asking for a little information. That's it. So, hey, can I ask you what brought you in today? Hey, just looking at cars. Hey, awesome. Tell me a little bit more about that. Or let's see. What was the other one? Any particular reason? Love that. Yeah. Oh, okay. Any particular reason? Timeline in mind? Little too early. We'll get to that. Tell me why you're looking. That's perfect. What kind of car do you see yourself driving? Maybe a little leading there too, and that's why we're doing this. We're gonna fine tune it. Okay. Basically, why are you here? Give me a little more information. Give me a little more information. It's going to usually take 2 or 3 times before you start to get specific. Your prospects are always going to lead with something like, just looking around, just checking out what you got. Oh, why is that? Hey, tell me a little bit more about what you're hoping to see or not see, or what? Why is that? We just go a little deeper, a little deeper, a little deeper. Okay? Any particular reason? Hey, great. So why this lot? Why today? Any of those things would work. Oh, awesome. What are you thinking? Like that, Mark. Beautiful. So start vague. Why are you here? And then just start getting a little more information. Tell me a little bit more about that. It's going to be some variation of, can you tell me a little more? Right? That's it. Or can you give me an example? Oh, looking for an SUV. Awesome. Lots of SUVs. Can you kind of give me an example of the kind you're looking for? Oh, okay. Why? We're just getting a little deeper, a little deeper, a little deeper. So you ask me, hey, just looking. I'll use one of your questions. What was one of those first ones? Any particular reason? I love that, Jason. So, hey, just looking at cars. Hey, awesome. Any particular reason? Yeah, mine's getting a little too small. How do you respond to that? We're going to go problem, really find out the problem. Once we know the problem, we'll find out the impact. And sometimes that's good enough. Picture perfect is like the bonus. So we'll go there too. But problem and impact is really where we get most of the traction here. So let's go a little deeper. So yeah, just I need something a little bigger. So how much space do you need? When you say bigger, what do you mean? How big would it need to be? Why do you think your car's too small now? Hey, pretty common situation. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Awesome, guys. So yeah, Jake's going with how's it affect? Almost there. Want to make sure we know the problem first. Okay. Understand why do you think you need a bigger one, guys? That's how easy it is. So great question or great answer. Why? Hey, what brought you on the lot? Oh, just looking. And then what was the next one? Hey, what brought you on the lot? Just looking. Okay. Anything particular? Well, just something a little bigger. Oh, cool. So what do you mean by bigger? Or I understand. Well, why do you think you need a bigger one? See, no leading. See, this is why when you learn the sales process, guys, you can literally work in any industry and sell without knowing almost nothing about your product. This is why I wanted to start out outside of industry, because we're not falling back on product knowledge. When we can't fall back on product knowledge, it forces us to understand from our prospect's point of view. As we go deeper into this, you're going to hear a lot from me about turning off the product knowledge. When we look at all industries, what we see is the more product knowledge someone has, sales success starts to decrease because we start to assume, we start to share instead of ask. But what we really want to do is dig in and find out, why are they really here? What's the problem? So we're just going a little deeper, a little deeper, a little deeper. Yeah, so Jessica says, it seems so simple. It does seem so simple, but it's incredibly hard, isn't it? Because here's what happens. Our brains are built to make shortcuts. So when you start hearing the same situation scenarios over and over again, your brain automatically wants to make the assumption, hey, I've seen this pattern before, make that assumption, and you want to start solving it. It's way too early. It's not time. Our prospects aren't emotionally invested yet. We may not even really understand the true problem yet. So we've got to turn off everything we know, stop sharing, and just really make sure we understand. Yes, it seems so simple. It's harder to do at this beginning part, because remember, we're in that third stage of learning, but it'll get to the point where it's super simple. So awesome. So where are we at? What brought you in today? Hey, just looking. Anything specific? Well, maybe something bigger. Okay, cool. Why do you think you might need something bigger? So let's go from there. Why do you think you may need something bigger? Well, we've got a baby on the way. Where do you go from there? Play dumb. Really understand. Hey, we got a baby on the way. How about you guys throwing a softening statement? And then another question. And again, don't worry, we're going to get into overcoming resistance and advanced questioning techniques in these next 2 sessions. So just concentrate on problem, impact, picture perfect. Hey, that's amazing. How soon are you expecting? Hey, nice. When's the baby due? Is this your first child? Hey, congratulations. How many children do you have now? Hey, great. Is this your first step? Or is that your first? Beautiful, guys. You don't need to know anything about the product or cars yet. How many kids do they already have, right? Is this a first or is this the 5th? Right? Why do they think they need a new car? Why do they need a new car to accommodate the child? Why can't the child fit, or what's wrong with the old car? All these questions are going to start to clearly articulate exactly what they're looking for. Awesome, just had twins myself. Congratulations. Have you already looked into anything that interests you? Yeah. Or even, so tell me a little bit about what you've got now and why you don't think that'll work. We're not selling. We are uncovering. When we find out exactly what they want, where they're at, what they're thinking, the specific problem they have, who's going to be best equipped to solve that problem? Simple. Who are they going to feel like understands their situation better than anyone else? Right? If price all comes in roughly the same, who do you think they're going to choose to get their help from? Right? All this starting to make sense, and we're just at the beginning of this thing, guys. So where would you go from there? Got a kid on the way. Awesome. So lots of good examples, good softening statements. Hey, fantastic. Congratulations. Let me ask you this. Why won't the old car work? That's when we're trying to find out what the real problem is. Well, actually, the old car, it's probably big enough. But it's only 2-wheel drive, and when the winter's here, I really don't, I'm not comfortable with my wife driving with the baby in a rear-wheel drive car. And if we're going to go ahead and get a 4-wheel drive, you probably need to get something a little bigger too, just because, I don't know, hauling stuff around, we just got a big stroller, those types of things. Where do you go from there? Do you have any safety concerns? Don't lead them. It's very tempting. We're wanting to sell. Don't lead them. Their reasons are always going to be more powerful than ours. But like I said, that's where we want to go, right? We go, okay, baby, safety's an issue. Not to everybody. Some people are just going to assume, hey, yeah, safety's a given now, right? There's so many laws. We're in the U.S. Even the worst cars are extremely safe. Awesome. So what are your most important needs? Sounds like you have a few. So that's great, guys. So, okay, great. Listen, I'm hearing two things. Four-wheel drive, a little bigger. Happy to work through both of those with you, but which one's most important? Actually, it's a four-wheel drive. Oh, shoot. That's exactly what's going to happen during your appointments. The problem you would have originally preemptively solved is going to lots of times be switched with, that's really a lot of times not the real problem. Well, actually, it's probably the four-wheel drive. Getting something bigger is just probably something we'll do since we got to get a new car anyways. Okay, well, let's talk about that. When you're looking at different four-wheel drive vehicles, obviously it needs to be four-wheel drive. But have you thought much about, SUV, van? Tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for. Okay, so we're going into problem. Let's transition into impact. Okay, how would you find out these things? Hey, I'm looking for a four-wheel drive, not comfortable safety-wise. I'm looking for something a little bigger. We got a bunch of baby junk we just bought, first baby, hauling that around. I can even get the stroller home. So I know I need something bigger there. Let's use those. Let's go with impact. Okay. Is the car keeping you from any goals? So those are our training wheel questions. But how would we really word that in this situation? So, hey, that's really smart. Good thinking. What will it be like in a few months if we decide to stay with the current car? So that's great. So I might tweak that just a little bit. Like, hey, really smart. Good thinking to stay ahead of this. Um, Let me ask you this. Are you planning to just start the looking now? Is it okay if you have your current car when the baby's born and you just got to get this the first year, or what's that look like? Oh, no, no, no. Well, why is that? I'm not putting a new baby in the car with blah, blah, blah. What would a new car do for you? Is four-wheel drive a big deal, little deal? Hey, will your wife be able to get around without worrying? Awesome, Darren. Hey, if you don't make a decision soon, because sometimes these decisions take a little while, will you guys be able to get around with that baby without worrying? Darren, that was beautiful. Do you guys hear that? Hey, four-wheel drive is very important to get around in the winter. Totally get it. Let me ask you this. Will your wife be able to get around without worrying if you just wait a little before making the purchase? Heck no. What do you mean? I am not sending my wife out on a... Darren, beautiful. Guys, now we're getting it. Now we're getting it. So we don't have much time left. Let's transition to picture perfect. Okay? We get out the problem, we get out the impact. What you'll see, what Darren would have drawn out there is it's more about worry, right? Hey, my wife's my world, man. This is my first kid. If you think I'm sending them out in Michigan winters, in a 1995 Ford Mustang GT that barely moves in the rain, you are absolutely crazy. Let's transition to picture perfect. Good. So, hey, makes total sense. Don't know exactly what model or anything you're looking for yet, but can you kind of just paint me a picture of what that perfect vehicle looks like? Just top 3 or 4 items, what you see. Do you see that being more of an SUV, a van, something in between? Why that one? You get something like that, it's snow comes, middle of the winter. You think would that make you feel good? Would you feel safe at that point? Still a little iffy? Where would you be at? What do you see yourself driving? So, good one. So, yeah, let me ask you this. May not know what model, what style, anything like that, but just as you kind of think about this in the head after your baby's born, what do you kind of see yourself driving? Awesome. So you get that pickup truck, four-wheel drive, Ford F-150. Will you feel good about that, or are you still going to have some worries? Guys, what they actually do on a car lot for the picture perfect is after they get deep enough, what do? They put you in the vehicle and make you drive it. And then that's how they build picture perfect right there. So we jumped into this. We're out of time today, but here's what we're going to do, because I want to get into this with real estate scenarios too, so we can practice. It was important to do this first exercise. It was really important to do it out of industry first, because you see, even out of industry, how as salespeople there were lots of times where we tried to lead our prospects somewhere. We heard a baby's coming, so we said, oh, it must be safety. Oh, it must be this. We tried to solve a problem before we even understood is that the real problem or not? I guarantee we do those things in the real estate business today. We hear a slight clue, we hear some surface pain, and we're solving problems before we even found out if that's a real problem they want to solve, if that's a big deal, if there's other stuff. And right from the start, our conversation's going the wrong way. So next week, we're going to pick up right here with real estate scenarios. I'll pare down the other stuff. I'll make it nice and neat, but this means from you guys, you got to watch the video for night when you get the homework. I think it's advanced listening and questioning. Make sure you watch that video. All right. So guys, was this a good use of your time today? How do we feel? Did this help you with a little clarity? So yeah, and we got Justin Williams on the line. Justin, I know this is what you guys already do. We're just putting a structure to it, because when you absolutely kill it out there, when you have a great appointment, isn't this kind of the conversation you're having? What we want to do is we want to take what's absolutely already working, just put a structure to it so we can do more of it, stay on pace. Hey guys, thank you so much today. Reach out if you need anything else at all. If you want to work through some of this stuff one-on-one, just reach out to me. Guys, have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.